And welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Newell from MSO News Sports, joined by Phil Stacy, Nick Giannino, Matt Williams, all from the Salem News, and also here, the sports editor of the Gloucester Times, Nick Kukuru here, our regular weekly panel here talking North Shore sports, North Shore high school sports. And gentlemen, I just, normally we don't single out individuals from this panel and give them recognition, but I really wanted to start out. Matt, you picked Kip Academy, the lone voice in the Salem News picks last week to beat Manchester Essex. What was your insights there?
Well, I just remember that 2 years ago, Kip did pretty well in the playoffs, so I figured I would go with that, and strength of schedule and all that, and maybe the football gods don't like when you score 80 points or whatever the heck it was. I don't know. It was a lark. I mean, honestly, I didn't really like the rest of the upsets, and since we're forced to choose an upset, that was the one I went with. I mean, I felt strongly that Masco was going to win. That was a popular upset choice, and that was really the only other place where I said, well, I can pick an upset. Sometimes when it's the upset pick, it's not necessarily that you think they're going to win, but that you think they have the best chance of all the underdogs, so to speak, too. So sometimes it's a little bit of a strategy and not actually who you think is going to win.
And I was going to give Nick Giannino credit for that just a moment ago, but I realized that I must not be good with columns. You know what I mean? So, anyways,
unfortunately, I picked Wayland over Danvers and did not nail that one. So, but yeah. I was in the same boat. Sometimes you just gotta take a guess and hope it works out for you. Especially after myself going 6-5 the previous week, I had to make up some ground here, so I went with Wayland. But
well, I know folks are waiting for the discussion on high school football to continue here, but I want to digress just for a moment. Bill, I know there was a 5K road race this past weekend, the Frady's road race, and Matt Williams picked up a first place, I understand.
You got a medal, yeah, third place. Medal. Yes, he really blazed his way to a third place finish in his age category, which is pretty good, I'd say. Not bad, Willie.
I mean, I don't know. All the guys at Danvers cross country run faster than me, so I don't think really it's that big a deal. I would give the more credit to our esteemed news colleague Paul Layton, who was first in the 60-year-old category. So that's more impressive than me, I think.
Well, they're both impressive. I remember several years ago driving through Peabody one midday and seeing Matt Williams weaving through the traffic and weaving through the tall buildings in Peabody at a pretty good pace. So he continues to run.
It wasn't a single bound, so.
It's like I told you when we were leaving yesterday. Those kids might run faster, but they haven't lived life's hard truths yet. They don't have the weight of the world on their shoulders like those of us in the working world do. So
well, I only had the weight of Kip Academy on my shoulders this week, so it wasn't too bad.
True.
Yeah, wait till they put in 10 years in the Salem News Sports Department splitting pizzas on a weeknight. You know what I mean? And then see how they run. Let's put them to the test. You know what I mean?
It's not wrong. Yeah.
Those days are over, though. That's why we can run. Because we're not eating the old Salem News diet.
Exactly. Not in the office. Well, let's go to football here. I'm looking at, and I mentioned last week, I mentioned people need to check out that Friday edition of the Salem News or the Thursday with all the previews for the upcoming weekend games. But I noticed, gentlemen, let's just start with Division I. The Prep is at home this Friday night, playing host to Wachusett in a D1 quarterfinal game. Any comments from you guys on that game?
Can't say I know much, if anything, about Wachusett, but it was good to see St. John's tighten up defensively last week. They had some issues in the last, I'd say, 3 weeks defensively, giving up far too many points. 2 of those losses, obviously, to Catholic Memorial and St. John's of Shrewsbury. So it was good to see them right the strip against Shrewsbury High, pitch a shutout last weekend, and get back to doing what they need to do. Still no James Guy for them offensively, so Carson Brown was still carrying the mail as far as coming out of the backfield for St. John's, but they had enough offense to put up 4 scores and as I said, that defense really came together. Now you get another home game against Wachusett. You're going to have to bring it again defensively. Hopefully, again, you get a guy back for this game. If not, you're going to have to find a way to keep things diversified in the backfield. Offensively between Brown and throwing the ball, Perry to O'Fury, Delaney, and Patrick. So, again, if the Prep plays up to their potential, they should win. I think we can all agree on that. But whether or not they're going to get to the divisional semifinals against either a Catholic Memorial team that's very good, but they blew out in week 2 when they were probably that was probably their best all-around game of the season, or that rematch with St. John's of Shrewsbury that they lost to in the last game of the regular season. The Prep can't get caught looking ahead. They got to focus on Wachusett before they can worry about who they might be playing in the semifinals. And that, for them, it really has to start with a strong defensive effort again.
Why don't we jump to Division 3? Because there you got a kind of a marquee NEC North Shore matchup with Masconomet at Marblehead in one of those matchups. I'll bring that bracket up here in a moment, but I don't know who wants to comment on that one.
Well, I saw them play. I saw them play in the regular season. Obviously, we know about that game with Masco taking the 21-7, 21-6 lead at the half, and Marblehead came out of the second half and outscored them 26-0. So Masco's obviously going to be out for blood in that one. I think they probably figured out a few things from that loss. They had a good performance against Walpole in the first round game, which I thought Walpole was a very good team. That was not an easy win by any means for the Chieftains. And they're doing it without their top running back in Matt Nadworny. Will Shannon really stepped up. He went over 130 yards on the ground. Richardson, made a few mistakes, but for the most part, he managed the game really well. Matt Richardson, the quarterback, and they didn't throw the ball much. Walpole didn't throw the ball much either. It was kind of a ground and pound game, and they beat them in that game. So that's going to be interesting. Obviously, Marblehead with the 2-touchdown win over Norwood. Phil, I imagine they got some things they need to clean up, but maybe took Norwood a little bit lightly in that one, or was that more of a true score of the competitiveness in that one?
I don't think they took them lightly. The more I harken back and think to that game, it was really a strange night. I don't know if there were like some leftover weird Halloween vibes emanating from Salem a week later that permeated Marblehead or what.
Wafting over.
Yeah, thank you. Wafting over. Yes. Like the smell of chocolate through Hershey, Pennsylvania, right? Wafting. I don't know where I'm going with that, but let's get back to football.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, Marblehead left a lot of points on the table, I thought. I mean, they could have put up 42 points, no problem. And defensively, they played great. Norwood's lone touchdown came because of a long kickoff return down to the Marblehead 3 or 4 yard line, and they punched it in 2 plays later. But I thought the Marblehead defense held 2 pretty good backs in check. I mean, one of those kids had like 4 or 5 speed, Jim Rudloff was saying after the game. So in that regard, the defense played very well. I just think the offense was not where it should be. And for a team that, regularly scores in the 30s, that was a little bit surprising. Now, they didn't use George Percy, their big back, as much as they normally would. He was primarily going as an inside linebacker, used him sparingly in the second half. They relied on Connor Cronin to carry the ball a lot more, which, is fine, but he's more of that hybrid, the Austin Eckler type. Like, he'll run the ball, but he'll also catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. They didn't throw to James Duty a lot, their top receiver. So I think there's a lot of tinkering that they need to do and will absolutely want to do this week. I will say this. I think I picked against Masco last week. Shame on me. I thought Walpole had a decent season out of a good league, and without Nadworthy, that Masco would be in trouble. And, as Nick alluded to, they really stepped up and played well. Love that line over at Masco. They're big guys. I think they're very good blockers up front in how they open holes for the backs and protect Matt Richardson when he's dropping back to pass. But I do think playing a team a second time is a whole different animal than playing a team a first time. And you have not only film on the game that you played against that team, but most recent film these coaches will see. And I have to think that Marblehead, between having played Masco once, Masco not having their best back, as you said, Nick and Nadworthy, and really wanting to clean up a lot of the offensive mistakes that they made against Norwood, I think you're going to see a completely different Marblehead team this Friday. That would be my guess. Now, what do I know, right? I mean, hey, whatever. It's a dart on the wall like anything else. But just having seen enough of Marblehead over the years during Jim Rudloff's tenure, and not that I haven't seen Masco plenty under Gavin Monagle, but I would tend to think that Marblehead playing at home, wanting to play a much better game than they did a week ago, will be super focused and ready for this game. I would have to say Marblehead will be a favorite.
Oh, well, so of course they're the favorite, but this is the fourth time that they've played in the year 2021.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of unprecedented. And the other thing, this is it for Masco.
Yes,
they may be
I was
the only
thinking of
team in the
that. You're
state
right.
for whom that is true, because there is no, they lose. There's no state semifinal November 20. There's no Thanksgiving game. And,
Or Masco.
As
Right.
Gene Hackman's character in The Replacement said, that makes them dangerous people.
I thought about that the other day. Like, if they lose, they're done. And they might be one of the first teams in the state to have their football season ended.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
I think, they got to be one of the only ones. So that's a little bit of a factor. I mean, it's certainly Marblehead has to be the favorite. And also, I mean, just, we talk all the time in the state tournament, whether you're talking about soccer, hockey, baseball, whatever. Oh, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. Well, technically Marblehead's trying to beat these guys for a 4th time in 1 year. I mean, that is interesting. That is not something you see very often. That's for certain.
Unprecedented. I mean,
It has to be.
I would stake my life on the fact that's never happened in football. 4 times in 1 year. Even go back to the days when, 1903, and you were playing the YMCA 1 week, and then Beverly High the next week, and the Surface Academy home on shore leave that weekend. I think they played teams multiple times in those years, but never 4 times in 1 year.
Well, Phil, the stakes are pretty high on that claim you just made for yourself there, but I'm sure a lot of people are beginning to research that one pretty hard just to see,
just thinking of that.
see if they can find that for you.
Good thing my wife doesn't listen to this.
You want to switch to D4 to the Danvers matchup? Let's do that. Danvers with a win last weekend against Wayland and playing Duxbury this week.
Yeah, they're going to have their hands full with that team. I haven't seen them play this year, Phil, but historically, obviously Duxbury runs that area football wise. They've had a big win, and as you look at the bracket here, they had a huge win in the first round. Danvers escaped from Wayland. So Danvers is going to need some more offense in that one. That would be my first take out of that game.
Willie, you saw him Friday. Why don't you talk about them?
Yeah. Well, all marks to them playing without Steve Reardon, who might be their best player. He's got a foot situation going on. So to win a playoff game without him, I mean, that's pretty nice job on their part. I thought the other guy that's one of their best players, and these guys are both getting some real nice college looks a year out, was Aris Zeres. He was excellent. Is playing stand-up linebacker and also inline tight end blocking. They ran behind him a lot. So Danvers is a team that plays very well under pressure. They play a lot of tight games, and they've lost some tight games, right? But they don't wilt. I mean, they're really good under pressure. Wayland came back and took the lead in that game at 12-10, and Danvers was able to get the lead right back. All credit to them because they haven't lost 4 in a row, right? I mean, you see this team that you've smothered in the first half come out and bamboozle you in the second half and take a quick lead. It would have been easy to say, wow, this just isn't our year. Things aren't going well, but they found a way to win the game, and that's a full credit to them. I think Mike Leon, the senior captain on defense and offense, played really well too. Great pursuit, great setting of the edge, things of that nature. So just a typical lunch pail Danvers football win, low scoring game, defense, fast, not a lot of clock stoppages, just exactly the way that they want to play over there. And, I don't know much about Duxbury, as far as what sets they run and what kind of offense they have and things of that nature. I will say, Danvers is the type of team that can shorten a game, take long possessions, take big stretches of time off the clock, keep a low scoring game. I mean, I think, not to necessarily liken Duxbury to Tewksbury, right? I mean, they both end in Berry, so there's that. But I mean, we've seen in years past really highly rated Tewksbury teams, and if Danvers didn't always beat them in the playoffs, they always made a fight of it, right? Under this regime, under this philosophy that Sean Terrio started, that Ryan Nolan does, right? Danvers finds a way to shorten games, keep them low scoring, and give themselves a puncher's chance. And so I wouldn't rule out something like that happening down there on Friday night. Now, I'm not necessarily saying Danvers is going to win the game. You may have to consult the picks this week to see if I can do the Kurt Hennig once again. But I would not be surprised if Danvers covers the spread anyway.
Well, I think, Willie, you make a good point about not having Reardon. And for people who maybe don't know that name or haven't seen them play, I mean, his stats aren't eye-popping. He's a fullback in that wing tee that they run, so he's not going to put up huge yardage. More of a defensive presence, but again, he's not a 15 tackles a game guy, anything like that. He's just a real tough kid. He's got a great football body. He's big, he's tall, he's really strong and explosive. So that is pretty remarkable that they were able to win without him. I think for Danvers, they need to find a way to keep the score down low. Traditionally, Duxbury's run a wide open spread. I haven't seen them in 5 years. I think that they played, I know they played Beverly in the state semifinals maybe 5 years ago, 2016 it was. And, they're running multiple trip sets, and they threw a bounce pass with the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage, and the wide receiver throws a bomb downfield to somebody else. And they want to try all kinds of razzle dazzle, different plays. So Danvers really needs to try to keep things low scoring. And, what's a boon in Danvers has had is that they've been able to get the jump on a lot of teams over the course of the season in the first quarter. I believe they've only given up, if I have it here, 13 points in 9 games in the first quarter of games. So if they can do that and jump out to an early lead and kind of force Duxbury to play from behind, that might help them. I don't think it's going to change the way Duxbury approaches the game offensively. They still are going to try to, come out, I would assume, and run and gun it and try to put up points quickly. But if Danvers can slow it down, get that early lead, that will only behoove them.
Of course, as we know, Duxbury has undergone some coaching changes since that time for various reasons. So something else there, to keep in mind, I guess.
All right, I want to jump to Division 5 here, looking at the clock here and so on. But we got 5 teams. 3 of the 3 teams left from the North Shore: Swampscott, Fenwick, and North Reading. And so, gentlemen, let's take a look at the brackets for Division 5 and maybe get your take on those.
I think you have to start with Swampscott here. I haven't seen North Reading play. I just can't imagine Swampscott is not the favorite here.
Yeah.
They are running roughshod over teams now that they're fairly healthy and back to full strength. I was thinking over the weekend, as we get into that time of year and, while we're doing this, I think in the back of our heads, we have to be thinking of, all-star teams coming up at the end of the fall and whatnot. I mean, Xavier Bascon for Swampscott, if he isn't the favorite to be Salem News Player of the Year, he's right up there, in the top 3 or 4, I would say. What a year he's having. I think he has 23 touchdowns now. Is that right, Willie? Have you updated the scoring? Is it 23, I want to say?
He's running away with the scoring, although Jason Romans down there at the end of the bracket is nipping at his heels. They're now 1-2. I think he's got 124 or 126 points, and Jason's the only other guy over 100 at 102.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Xavier, has gone over 1,100 yards rushing. He's the focal point of that offense because he catches a ton of passes too. And he's a terrific defensive player. I mean, he is really a beast for this team. Literally, very few players run the ball other than Xavier. I mean, you might have Cam O'Brien on a designed read option once in a while, but if they're handing the ball off, it's going to Xavier. He's not huge by any stretch. He's not, some superhuman running back, but he knows how to get tough yards. He's got breakaway speed. As I said, he plays great defensively. And, I think people tend to forget that Swampscott has that Super Bowl experience. There are a lot of guys on this team that are seniors now that played meaningful roles as sophomores when they won the title 2 years ago. Cam O'Brien, Jake, oh God, I'm going to butcher poor Jake's last name, Papa Gazalu. Quite a few guys on that line saw time in and out of there. I look at Dover Sherborne and I say, wow, this is another double-digit win for Swampscott on its home turf Friday night, and really hoping we get to see a Fenwick Swampscott state semifinal in that bracket. If somebody else, I can talk about Fenwick, but if somebody else wants to jump in, please do.
It's hard not to see that as the Super Bowl. Well, I mean, I look at that Pentucket Triton score, and I mean, for Triton, stayed in that game for a lot longer than I anticipated, and I mean that it's hard to put teams that are doing that on the level of Fenwick and Swampscott. I mean, and you look at the number of points that both Fenwick and Swampscott are scoring in there. I mean, they're both over 40 every week. I
believe they're both over 300 this year.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a bloodbath. When they get to Gillette, and whoever's on that other side can use this as bulletin board material if they want. But I just, those two teams are superior, I think, to just about everybody in Division 5 and maybe even in Division 4 too. I mean, those two teams are tremendous. And as Phil mentioned, they both have Super Bowl experience. Fenwick less so. There's only a couple of guys because they lost so many guys from last year. But, I remember sitting here 2 years ago when, they were in the Division 5 and 6 Super Bowls respectively, saying, wow, like if these two teams played each other, what a game that would be. And now we may get it because they're in the same division. So I think.
And if you remember, Stephen Woods, who's now the Fenwick captain and quarterback, had to step into that game, that Super Bowl game for Fenwick in 2019 as a third stringer, and he led them to a touchdown.
Right. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, he's come back and played really well after his injury. I mean, he six
Romans has played that game before.
And them having Faraka healthy is huge. Now they have 3 different receivers they can go to. I mean, they spread the ball around.
Beechin is another guy they
can't cover all 3 guys, right? So I mean, you kind of have to pick your poison.
I'll tell you somebody who I feel like is just waiting for a breakout game for Fenwick is Luke Conley. Sophomore with all kinds of talent. Of course, everybody that listens to this podcast would remember his brother Jake, who had a tremendous season in the spring for Fenwick. He was our player of the year, and now he's up at Ithaca doing his thing. But Luke is he's just a superstar talent waiting to explode. A lot of talent at Fenwick, but I really feel like they're going to try to find a way to get him the ball more as the season progresses here. And you need healthy guys, you need healthy, talented guys to win at this time of year. And I get the sense that he's ready to break out soon.
We'll just touch on one more division here, unless we want to do anything else. But just go quickly to 6, where you've got St. Mary's of Lynn hosting Medway, Winthrop at Rockland. Of course, Sean Driscoll, at St. Mary's, their head coach, former coach at Winthrop High School. And I just popped the brackets up here, so you've got Winthrop and St. Mary's on opposite ends here. But so they could, interestingly enough, meet in a possible Super Bowl should they continue on their ways. And so that's the way Division 6 is looking. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that at all. Maybe not. I got it.
We go to Division 7, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Hamilton, Wenham.
You got it. Okay.
And we should let Kooks talk about Manchester in Division 8.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I got you here. 7's updated here.
There you go.
Yeah, Generals look good last weekend and beating Leicester. Pound the ball, works for them. Mixed in with the occasional John Ertl pass, hit Marcus Norden for a nice 24-yard touchdown, opened the scoring the other day. And then they ride Chris Domaraki to 3 touchdowns. He had 169 yards rushing. Great job by the Generals defensively. Love the way that we mentioned him before, but the sophomore inside linebacker, Chris Collins, plays. Chris's twin brother, Luke, another real standout player for HW. Home again this Saturday on the grass at Hamilton Wenham against Cohasset. Again, it's the nature of this format. We know little to nothing about Cohasset, but I have to think if Hamilton Wenham can do its thing based on the schedule they've played and how they looked last week, they could very well be in for a rematch with Amesbury in the sectional semifinal. Amesbury runs that, I don't know, what would you call that? Not really even like a single wing. It's kind of like an old T formation, really, where, it's just any one of like 3 backs and 1 quarterback can get the ball, a lot of misdirection, fakes into the line, things like that. I saw their first game early this year, Amesbury, Hamilton Wenham. That was a great game, back and forth slugfest that Hamilton Wenham won. But the rematch would be up in Amesbury, and that'd be a terrific contest.
I'm going to pop 7 up here for you guys. 8 rather, excuse me, 8. And Nick, maybe you want to take us through that, where Kip was a winner over Manchester Essex last weekend and advances on to take on Hull.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit surprised, not going to lie. Manchester Essex, I thought that their 15-8 win in the regular season wasn't quite as close as that final score showed. They kind of controlled that game, but I mean, you got to, give credit to Kip. They obviously earned that one, a 3-score win. It was big plays. They got an 80-yard touchdown in the first half. Manchester Essex got a little momentum back right before the half. AJ Palazola took the kickoff back 90 yards, and then Kip takes the opening kickoff for the second half back 80 yards on Vic Maffo. And then Manchester Essex is driving the next drive, and Vic Maffo again with an interception in the red zone, and he takes it back the other way on 90 yards. So that was kind of the game right there. Manchester Essex cut it to 18-15, then you had the kickoff return, and then you had the interception run back, and it's 32-15. And Manchester Essex is down 3 scores, and Kip's good. They're tough to keep up with. Led by quarterback Juan Satal Singh, who Kip's a Division 8 team, but that kid I think could play for anybody. He's a quarterback, he's a defensive back, and he does a bit of everything for him. And they had a lot of trouble with him on Friday night. After containing them pretty well the first time they played. So, you got to give the kudos to that Kip coaching staff. They made the right adjustments, and, they totally earned that win. They use the term upset in quote, upset by the seeds, but, those teams were pretty closely contested. That was, a mild upset at best.
Like one of those 12-5 matchups in the March Madness.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, Phil. I'm sorry, I didn't want to stop
I was
you
going
there.
to say, we should also mention for non-MIAA purposes, Pingry's got a huge game coming up this week. They're 7-0. They're playing Dexter Southfield, which is 7-0. It's a 5:00 game Saturday at Pingry. Nothing else football-wise going on at that time locally. If you've never been over to watch Pingry play, you really should. It's a beautiful field, great spot in South Hamilton where they play on the Pingry campus on their turf field, beautiful lights there. And it's a fun team to watch. They can throw the ball over the place. They get some solid running backs. They play great defense. Mike Flynn and his staff do a really, really nice job over there. And Dexter is a traditional powerhouse who, once again, is right there, 7-0. I mean, the winner of this game is moving on to a prep school bowl game. Pingry's been each of the last 2 seasons that they played, 18 and 19. And Willie, if I'm not mistaken, Pingry's got what? I know Marblehead's got a 16-game winning streak, I want to say. But I believe Pingry's might be longer, 17 or 18, going back to 2019.
I don't know what they finished that year. They had a tie or something. I don't remember what their situation was in the bowl game here. I might be able to find it.
It was something that was very good, and they've got names I think that people would recognize if you're a Gloucester football fan. I mean, Cooks, you could tell people about Jaden Del Torchio. He's a monster. He's already like 6'5", great two-way end for Pingry. Chris Colby is a sophomore who got all kinds of talent. He may be literally a Division I defensive back type player. Just great hands, anticipation, and a very skilled offensive player. Hudson Weidman is the quarterback, another sophomore, son of former Lynn field coach Neil Weidman. They're just a fun team to watch, and should be a terrific game between two unbeatens in November. Excuse me.
Absolutely. Yeah, they
Gentlemen,
were 8-1. They went 8-1 the year they won the titles. I'm not sure they lost early in the season that year. And what are they now? 6-6?
7-0. Yeah.
So, I mean, if it was like their third game, so it's double digits anyway.
Okay.
It's probably around 12 or 13 or something. I'm not sure exactly when they lost that early game. I think it must have been to St.
Correct.
Paul's in 2019. Well, it's still, I mean, they haven't lost a game in over 700 days. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we only have a few more minutes left, so maybe let's jump away from football, and maybe you guys, if you want to weigh in on a non-football story that we should know about. Nick Giannino, maybe I'll start with you, and then we'll go whip around quickly here, but I'll keep an eye on the clock here. Nick?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we're down to 3 boys soccer teams, which is, in terms of our coverage area, which is kind of surprising. I believe we have this St. John's Prep, Hamilton Wenham, and Masco, who's still undefeated. They won their first match 6-0. So Masco's rolling. We'll see how they do on Wednesday. Who they hosting there, Phil?
Masco.
Wayland.
Wayland, yeah.
So they got Wayland on Wednesday in the round of 16. Masco's been playing some great soccer all year round. They're obviously going to be the favorite in that one. Wayland was a 1-0 winner over Walpole. They're kind of a middle of the pack seed. And then you got St. John's Prep, came through with a nice 3-0 win over Weymouth. St. John's Prep has struggled to score at points this season, so that was nice to see them pump 3 home and obviously get the shutout. Joey Waterman's been terrific in net. And then you got Hamilton Wenham, who's still alive in Division 4. I want to say they had a nice win, 4-1 win in the first round over Mashpee, and they'll get the top seed Hampshire Regional on Thursday. So we'll see how that one goes on Wednesday. I'm sorry. So Masco and Hamilton Wenham both taking on their second round opponent on Wednesday, and then St. John's Prep also gets the top seed in Hingham this week. So that'll be interesting. But I think St. John's Prep is playing some of the best soccer of the year for them, and they got a great shot to get the upset there.
Nick Cooper. I'm sorry. I want to try to move this on because but go ahead, Nick Giannino.
Just quickly, shout out to Beverly and Peabody. They both had overtime losses over the weekend, tough losses. The Beverly one was crazy. A defender hit about a 40-yard boot for the win in overtime, about 30 seconds in. I think he was the only one on the field that wasn't really shocked by what just happened. It kind of went silent at the place. And then Peabody allowed a goal with 2 minutes left in regulation and then lost in overtime. So that was a heartbreaker for them, but they had a nice run, even just to get into the playoffs and then win a game. So 2 good seasons there in the NEC.
Nick Kukaru, I think you could have a tie-in here with us too. Teams remaining.
Yeah, Gloucester boys soccer still alive. They beat East Boston 5-0. Who I actually thought was pretty good. Gloucester just played really, really well. Andrew Coelho set the program's single season goal scoring record. He's got 28 now.
Wow.
He's been lighting it up this season. And Gloucester's looking to make history. They're playing Greater New Bedford Vogue on Wednesday at Newell in the 8-9 matchup. So that you got to figure that's kind of a pick 'em. But Gloucester's never ventured past the second round of the tournament before, so they're looking for their first ever appearance out of round number 2. And also wanted to give credit Rockport girls soccer. They got eliminated over the weekend, but they also made their first ever tournament appearance and picked up their first win over Upper Cape Cod Tech last week. A 1-0 win, kind of a validation for the rankings. Rockport had 5 wins, Upper Cape Cod had 10, and Rockport was the higher ranked team, and they were the clearly the better team. So at least in that instance, I know it's very anecdotal, but the rankings worked in that instance in the preliminary round.
Matt Williams, you want to pick us up with a non-football story?
Sure, yeah. Girls soccer, we got Hamilton Wenham playing Ipswich on Tuesday at 2:00, so early start over there. That should be an interesting rivalry game. Hamilton Wenham's playing as well as anybody on the North Shore right now, unbeaten in 14 in a row. Jane McGuire just named Cal Baker MVP, so a real tournament state title threat there, Hamilton is, but obviously to have a familiar opponent in Ipswich in their way, and That was Ipswich's first tournament win since 2013 this past Friday. So the Tigers are riding high. They have nothing to lose, and they'll throw the kitchen sink at Hamilton. And then in Division 2, Danvers survives North Attleboro on PKs. They get Holliston on Wednesday at home. Holliston, a 21 seed, one of the few low seeds to win. They beat the number 12 seed. I think we'll continue to see that in soccer because I don't think the power rankings have been great for soccer because of the margin of victory thing. And I think that could play itself out with Masconomet's road game against Westboro as well. Masco's won 14 in a row there, 11 in a row to go to 17-2. They're one of the best teams in the state. Really handled Dartmouth very easily at home over the weekend, and an undefeated Westboro team that had a tough time with Marblehead, I think is going to have an even tougher time with Masco. I think Masco is a little bit under the radar. Their seed is a little bit lower for what they should be in the schedule they played, and I think that's going to play itself out here over the next week or so.
Phil, you have almost really less than a minute.
Yep, I'll give you a quick field hockey minute here if you'll oblige me. By the time you hear this, hopefully both Masconomet and Danvers will have won Monday night and advanced. Masconomet, top seed, played Oliver Ames. Danvers played Dartmouth at home. Wins would move both of them into the Division 2 quarterfinals. Nice win for Swampscott on Sunday in their opener. They now advance to the round of 16. They're hosting Medfield on Wednesday afternoon at Bloxage Field. And in Division 4, we got 3 of our local teams still going. Round of 16, Manchester Essex hosting Frontier Regional on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. You also have Hamilton Wenham playing out at Sutton. Big win for Hamilton Wenham. They upset Amesbury in overtime on a Sophie Zerilli goal. So they got the win as the number 21 seed. And number 4, Ipswich will be hosting St. Mary's of Lynn Wednesday night at 6 p.m., also in that round of 16.
All right, on that note, we'll stop right here. Have a great week, everybody.